system. Zero.
Welcome back to the OGB, the podcast. Before we start this interview, I want to thank each and everyone out there that has gone out of their ways to support this platform, this channel. Without you guys, without you sharing these interviews, without you putting your input in these interviews, we would not be here. So at the end of the day, I want to thank you all humbly, highly appreciate it. Always remember to subscribe and like all the videos that we create for you guys. Uh, Today's guest is Sandra. Sandra, she has a nonprofit organization that helps us called Jesse's Place. Sandra, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Can you be kind to give us a little bit of a story of who you are? How was your upbringing?
Yes, my name is Sandra Suarez. I'm the director, founder of Jesse's Place organization and Aftermath.
Hmm.
So I grew up in various places here in LA, too many places. My dad was always on the go,
Hmm.
Paramount, Vegas, Pomona. So there's not really a set place.
Okay.
The most time I've spent is in Pomona. And my upbringing was a little rough. Um, my dad my dad was a boxer then, and my mom, I live with both my parents, but our upbringing was not your normal upbringing.
Okay.
At first, it was okay, but then, things just changed. Things changed.
Changing which way?
So, my dad was he was an alcoholic,
Okay.
and my mom, she was abusive
Hmm.
to me, because I still don't know why,
Okay.
honestly, and sometimes I think it's because I look like my dad. Um, but it was rough growing up, in that type of environment. My dad always made sure to tell me he loved me and that I was special and things of that nature.
Hmm.
But I chose to go into a younger me gang lifestyle, which I
Okay.
knew nothing about really. But that's how I grew up.
How did you were introduced to that lifestyle?
I was introduced at school.
Okay.
You know, I was introduced at school just wanting a form of love,
Okay.
of attention, through friends, and I found it. I found that kind of love at school through gang lifestyle. I was very very young, and that's how I grew up.
That's how you grew up. What was your now that you are grown in this life stage? What is one of the memories that you have going through that process?
The memory I have, um, his name, that's my memory.
Hmm.
His name was Ernie Negrete, and known as Silence. We
Hmm.
were young. He was what, 16 at the time, and I was 14.
Hmm.
And so because I didn't feel the love at home, that was my puppy love.
Okay.
I fell in love with him, and he showed me that kind of attention and love, but it was a pure love. And I really was into him. He was into me. But then what happened is he ended up getting shot and killed. And he died. And that's where I lost my own self after that, because then I felt like I was all alone again. And I couldn't understand why that would happen to us, you
Hmm.
know? And so I felt really alone. And that was the start of wrecking my life for a long time, very long time.
Define wrecking your life.
Wrecking my life, I define it as, um, it's part of my testimony.
Hmm.
My testimony is I had many suicide attempts. My first one, I still remember, but I had so many suicide attempts up until the age of 32. And what made me stop was one day when they thought I was going to die. I opened my eyes and there was a priest standing over me, and he had put a light blue rosary
Mm-hmm.
over me, and he was praying for me. And when I opened my eyes, I remember saying, I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, well, what am I doing to myself? Then I realized that I had a purpose, and I just didn't know what it was. But I had a purpose in life. So, yeah.
What's the first time that you said that you hurt yourself after that person eventually passed away? So you felt that you were lost and you couldn't find yourself. So you started be more, well, be aggressive within yourself, or how
Yeah, I
was?
was very angry.
Okay.
I was very, very angry at the world, at
Mm-hmm.
my parents, everybody.
Okay.
And I was very angry because I would tell myself, now I'm really alone. And because he was someone I would be able to talk to about my problems, about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't there anymore. And I didn't trust anybody. And I just would sit there and think to myself, I can't believe that God would let this happen. And I felt that God didn't love me and that I wasn't worthy. And so I became very angry, um, and just hated the world
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah.
What was your dad and mom still involved?
They were both in the picture. Again, my mom, I never really gave her much of a chance because of how angry I was at her.
Okay.
Um, for a lot of stuff that happened when I was younger, when I was 5, 6, things that a 5, 6-year-old should never have to see or go through. So I was angry at her and I didn't want to talk to her. And my dad would always reassure me. He would say, You're beautiful. He would say, You're strong. You can do anything you want to do. But then he would drink a lot. And so I believed that I was strong. I believed that I could do anything that I wanted to do, but I just missed a normal life. But then I would want a normal life, and I didn't know what it was
Yeah.
to have a normal life. Um, but yeah.
Because you were going in and out on the streets, or
I was running away. I was running away. I kind of chuckle about it now, but it wasn't funny.
yeah.
I did put them through a lot. I would run away. I wanted to be free. I would wanted to run the streets.
Hmm.
And I did run the streets. I was too young though,
At
uh,
what stage in life was that process?
all the way. I kind of started young. Like I started very young, 12, 13.
Oh
I
wow.
started in wanting to be in gangs, and I still have pictures, that I saw the other day. All the way till I was about 17. I moved out of I was like, I'm gone, and I left.
You left your mom and
I
dad.
left my mom and my dad. My dad was in Mexico and he came back and I was gone.
Wow.
I was like, I was over it.
Why do you make the decision of leaving home?
Because I had met my son's dad.
Hmm.
So I had met my son's dad. I was 17. He was 27. And I thought that things would be different. But then I went and met someone that was also an alcoholic and was into drugs. And so that didn't what happened in the first stage of my life didn't stop.
Hmm.
It just continued on to my next relationship because I thought that was normal. I thought it was okay, and that everybody lived like that until I learned that that wasn't okay and that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
And then, I started to change my life like at 21, 22.
Hmm.
I started changing my life. I went to college, to nursing. Um, I just wanted different for my son.
What make you make the decision for
My son.
your son?
Yeah, one day I just woke up and I didn't like my environment. I didn't like what was happening. And I talked to myself and I was like, I have to change. This has to change. This situation, I don't want this anymore.
Hmm.
And so um, I just, the following week, I started looking into colleges and I
Hmm.
enrolled into college and I graduated and I was actually getting A's and B's,
Wow.
which was surprising because I was always a failure. But that's because I was never in school, in high school. I was
Okay.
always ditching. It
Yeah.
was pretty bad. Yeah.
You finished high school?
I got my GED
Congrats.
at an older age, yes, because it was important. Education became important to me
Yeah.
now, but it wasn't important to me
At
then.
that time.
No, not at that time. Didn't matter at that time.
You were prior we had a conversation that you said that you were at one point in life you lived in the streets and you were homeless.
I was. So after I was with my son's dad,
Hmm.
we went through a lot of domestic violence situations. And again, I thought that all that was normal to me.
Hmm.
And so it was a, what do they call, fight or flight?
Hmm.
And so I had to leave because he wasn't going anywhere. And I was tired of the fights. And so I would end up in LA. I would end up in LA or in Southgate where my grandma lived,
Hmm.
sleeping in my car. Because one of us had to leave.
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice. And so I would sleep in my car and she would let me take showers at her house.
Your grandma.
My grandma, and when she passed, it was also, very difficult.
Heartbreaking.
Super heartbreaking.
Wow.
Super heartbreaking. She was more like a mom.
Hmm.
And I even tell that till today, even though I wasn't her favorite.
Hmm.
But she would always tell me in Spanish, que la sangre de Cristo te cubra.
Hmm.
And I would be like, what is she talking about? Because I didn't understand. But what I did understand was even when I was a youth and I would run away, I would go look for her and I'll tell her, Grandma, I'm hungry. And she would take out she would take out her food stamp dollars. Back then it was not,
Yeah. Yeah.
remember?
Yes.
So she would take them out of her little bra
Yeah.
and she would be like, here, go buy a sandwich. She goes, but you need to go home.
Wow.
And I was like, no, I don't want to go home. And throughout, throughout, I want to say at least 10 years, I did a lot of wrecking of my life. But she was there until one day she wasn't.
And she was. How did that affect you?
It was like a restart of anger. Um, and as you could tell, still,
Yeah.
it's been a minute since she passed. But these earrings, she gave them to me.
Okay.
So I told her this morning, "You're coming with me, Grandma." Um,
It's
that
okay.
if you could tell, that's
It's
still a
it's okay. I
sensitive
understand.
subject. Yeah, until she wasn't. Just like with Ernie, I was very angry because I still couldn't figure out. I say, why her?
Yeah.
You know, sorry,
No, you're
I
good.
don't
One
even know
second.
why I'm
Yeah.
crying.
It's okay. It's all right. You sharing your feelings and you're reminiscing, stages in life that really impact you. You know what I mean? And overall, thank you for sitting with us and sharing your life story. Really.
Thank you for listening to my life story. Yeah, I don't tell a lot of it.
Why, when you say change, as change your ways to become a better person, or
Change my ways to become a better person. To serve the people. I
okay,
said there's people that are sick that need help. There's people that can't help themselves. And so my first person I started helping was my grandma. I would go to her doctor's appointments, check her medications, talk to her doctors. And even when she went through her breast cancer surgery, I was able to get right before they took her in to
mhm,
have her breast removed. And when going through that process with her, it made me realize there's a lot of people like her that need help.
okay,
So at that time, I worked geriatrics, which was a lot of the older people.
hmm,
And I was like, I could help them. They need help. They'll love me.
yeah,
And sure enough, they did,
wow.
So I try to prioritize older people, kids, everybody, but the older people we need to look after.
You you said a keyword right here. Um, that if you will help those elder people, they will love you. You think you had that missing in
Yeah,
you?
I did. I did have a lot of love missing from my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I didn't want to break down. What am I doing?
No, you're good. You're good.
um, I did.
So you feel that by taking that decision and going that route, you will feel better within yourself.
I did. I felt that um there was a void missing.
Okay.
I felt very alone, very angry,
Yeah.
and I had a big void missing in my life. And then again, I was helping older people, but it was still not enough. It's still something felt missing. So in like 2012, 2013,
Hmm.
I gave my life to the Lord at a church event. Um, and everybody talked about how God can change your feelings and change your life. And so when I went to this play,
Hmm.
it was actually at Victory Outreach,
Okay.
Pomona.
Mhm.
And I went to this play that had to do with domestic violence. And at that time I was separated from my son's dad.
Okay.
And when I went to the church, it was like our scene was up on the platform. And I remember I cried. And then at the end, they have an altar call. And they're like, if you want to give your life to the Lord. And I was like, I want to give my life to the Lord. But so I gave my life to the Lord.
Were you afraid?
I was afraid because I wanted change, but then I didn't want to change.
Why is that?
Um, sometimes how the world is, if they think you're weak, they'll take advantage of you, or people take advantage of you. And so at that time, my mentality was always like, I'm gonna get you first before you get me if you're gonna do something bad to me,
Yeah.
and or I don't let people in my life.
Hmm.
And some people say I have a circle, so I would say I have a speck because it would be really hard to let anyone in my life. Just I think grief had a lot to do with it. The loss of um the two people that I love most in the world, and they weren't here anymore. So I was like, I don't need friends, I don't need people. They're gonna die anyways. That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
Have you grieved already? Are you grieving still?
I grieve my grandma.
Hmm.
I grieve her. Him, I remember him all the time. I remember him all the time. His picture's still up in my room, but I look at it and I have it there in my room to remind me not to go back, to remind me that things are going to be okay. And I've come a long way. And so every day that I see his picture,
Hmm.
and then my husband's picture, we'll get to that later.
Hmm.
But every time I see their pictures, I've come a long way.
Yes, you have.
Yeah,
Yes, you
I
have.
really have.
Can you can you give us more details as a young female being homeless and being out there, something that some people out there might be going through the same situation as you went through at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might be going through something harsh in life, at home, or whatever case might be. Can you share a little bit more of that, please?
For me, again, it was I ended up in the streets because of domestic violence.
Hmm.
Um and what was hard for me being in the streets was, the whole food thing, the whole taking a shower, and it was difficult, because being a woman in the street, it's not too safe.
Correct.
But I didn't know all the resources that were out there.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's hard. It was a little hard because they didn't have bed spaces.
Okay.
And it's not that I didn't look into it, it's just that some bed spaces weren't available at that time. Um,
So you will go to
I
shelters.
would go. I went to a couple shelters, and then they're like, "There's no bed space, or you have to sign up, get in line," and that was okay. But when there wasn't something available, it would discourage me, and so I was like, okay. So I had my car at that time, which was the little box Scion,
Hmm.
and so I just grabbed, my clothes. I went. I still remember going to the store and buying a blanket, a pillow. And so I would just say, instead of being in a shelter, I'm not sure what's going to happen to me in there or in the street. I would just sleep in my car. So I would have to, make sure the window was covered
Yeah.
and do extra precautions.
Hmm.
And, I did find myself at some point panhandling outside of a McDonald's because I couldn't, I couldn't go back. I didn't want to go back. I was tired of same stuff.
Yeah.
But then, things just shifted. I started saving up and I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this. So I did find myself a job and I made it work and started saving until I got an apartment. And when I got an apartment, it was empty.
Wow.
And that was okay. I didn't care how. I still remember a cooler with ice, water, milk in there,
Hmm.
oat milk or almond milk.
Yeah.
And and then that was the beginning of I don't have to live like that. It was
What make you, besides you going through the harsh times, something had trigger in the back of your head says, "That's it."
That's exactly what you just said. I said to myself, that's it. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not a victim. I had that conversation with myself
Really?
and I said, you're not a victim. You're not a victim. You're a victor. Get up. And I told myself, get up. And I remember that was shifted in my mind, and I remember I had gave my life to God, but I didn't know how to read a Bible. But I started reading a Bible and it would talk about, we're victorious, we're conquerors, we're strong, do not fear. That was one of the biggest things is do not fear, do not fear. And I was like, oh, why am I scared? I shouldn't be scared. He's saying don't be scared. Though I didn't understand what I was reading,
Hmm.
but I kept reading it. And I still remember in my mess standing there, like reading, the word of God. And I didn't understand it, but that's where things started to shift.
Definitely.
That's what I'm
Tough.
saying.
So you got an apartment and you're working and all of that. What was next after that?
What was next after working?
Yeah.
Just saving up, to saving up to get furniture, to get a refrigerator. I got a little used refrigerator. And just trying to live life,
Yeah.
trying to do better, trying to make changes, um, be a better example for my son. That's what I was thinking, to be a better example than I was teaching him what I was taught
Hmm.
as a kid from my parents.
Okay.
So I didn't want him to grow up like that. I didn't want him to grow up and see us in a gang lifestyle. So I changed that.
You broke the chain?
I want to say I did because he's not a gang member. I want to say that he did, though he did try it.
Okay.
He did try at 12, I think 12, 13. One day I was driving by and he had ditched school, I believe. And I was driving and I was like, that looks like, and then I looked and I pulled over quick and I was like, come here. I was like, we're not doing this. No white t-shirt, white tennis shoes,
Yeah.
jeans. He even sold his PlayStation, okay, at that time to get some jeans.
Wow.
And so I pulled up. I was like, we're not doing this. I didn't teach you that. And so, I mean, along the way, I taught him a few lessons. I took him to a police station just because of what happened to me with Ernie. I didn't want him to be a statistic.
Yeah.
Because of what happened to me, I didn't want my son ending up in county. I just didn't want that for him. I wanted him to be different. And he's different. He's
Good.
very different.
Good.
Yeah.
So going through all of that and understanding what it you have new apartment and trying to become a better person. How did Jesse's place came about? How was
So Jesse's Place came about. My first marriage after 25 years, we divorced, we separated. And so Jesse was just my friend.
Mm-hmm.
We were just friends when I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was incarcerated.
Okay.
He was incarcerated and he would be a person to breathe life into me and always talk to me about the word of God and always encourage me, always say, you're a queen. it was kind of weird because he would tell me the positive things that my dad would tell me when he was drunk.
Interesting.
And so through him is where I learned, through my husband is where I learned to be sober. And I learned that you don't have to go that route, to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jesse's Place was founded. I founded Jesse's Place, but based on what happened to him.
Okay.
So he was incarcerated, giving a 37-year, 8-month sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to help him. Along the way, he told me he loved me, and I was like, "Ooh, what do you want with me?" Because he's a very handsome man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, "What do you want with me?"
Yeah.
And when the very, very first time where we did meet was at the county, and I walked up, and that was the beginning of the wow. Yeah, so he ended up getting those years sentenced, and I created Jesse's Place out of obedience, from God
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic
Okay.
to help him um and incarcerated people and their families along the journey.
How was that calling for you?
It was real and raw, and I was like, "Are you sure?" kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
He had just got resentenced. They only gave him 4 years off out of the 37 years or whatever months. And so he was kind of discouraged. And I was like, I just remember that day I was frustrated because of everything negative that he was told by the judge. And I was like, that's not who he is today.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's not the person I've seen, going class to class, certificates, you name it. I was like, this person is a good person. He made a huge mistake like I did along my life. I made terrible mistakes. And so I wanted to help him. So I said, looking out the window, I was like, God, what can I do to help him? And I clearly heard, and people think I'm crazy, Jesse's Place. And I was like, Jesse's Place? I said, what's that? Jesse's Place. I said, okay. And so I do pray and I do my fasting and I try my best to stay in my word. That's what works for me and my sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started off as a support group for the families to inform them about laws, to let them know, we can change this. This is what's happening to us. So along the way, I started telling our journey, our whole journey. Um, and then I said, my husband started pouring into me, you could turn this. He said, started talking to me about other nonprofits.
Okay.
And so I was like, wait a minute, I could make this a nonprofit. And so I did. And so, behold, Jesse's Place organization.
Guys, a nonprofit. What
Mhm.
exactly Jesse's Place is doing for the inmates?
So Jesse's Place organization helps the incarcerated folks. We do prison programming.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 prisons up north.
Mm-hmm.
We just received a couple prisons here in the South, Southern California, and we take in a curriculum that my husband he facilitated in 2012. He created it called
Mm-hmm.
One Way,
Mm-hmm.
and so One Way has to do with accountability, transformation, and change. And it's based off of everything that was instilled in him, as far as education, as far as a belief system. And so we go in there and we teach it to them
Mm-hmm.
that things don't need to be the way they are. And it starts with vision, it starts with sowing a seed, changing your mentality, changing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those inmates they need to go through a stage for them to be part of One Way?
No, so there's a sign up list.
Okay.
They put up a sign up list, and then the resource managers, they also, come up with a list, and then they can participate. Some of them cannot participate if they're working.
Okay.
That's the only thing that'll stop them from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll need to be on a good behavior.
Um, it's based off of, no, it's not about behavior, because if you're not on your best behavior, they put you somewhere else in the prisons.
Okay.
So we go to the higher level prisons, the lower level prisons, middle prisons, we go and try to teach it to everybody
Okay.
because we want to make sure that everybody knows, just the way my husband instilled in me. I tell him I'm your first student,
Mhm.
where change is possible, transformation is possible, and we're good examples of that.
Is your husband still incarcerated?
No, he's not. He's been out 3 years, 3 months.
Wow.
3 years, 3 months. He wrote his own habeas corpus, which released him almost 15 years early, through the laws that we helped to support. We do policy at Justice Place organization as well to better conditions for the incarcerated and their families. And he came out, and actually it's on our Instagram, the release video. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it or
Yeah.
not. Yeah, so he got released, and at 3 weeks he started working, and there was nothing he can do. Nothing was impossible for him, and yeah.
Working, where did he started working?
He got an opportunity and he started at Homeboy Industries.
Okay.
He went there. He's in college. He just got his certificate for paralegal. He's still going to continue his education. Um, yeah, but he hasn't stopped, especially schooling. He
Yeah.
hasn't stopped anything. Yeah.
So what it's and then he goes back and forward to.
He goes back and forth. Yes. Thursdays and Fridays he goes up to the prisons,
Mhm.
and he will not miss because the incarcerated folks are very important
Yeah.
to him. He was one of them, so he knows what it is to wait.
Yeah.
So he shows up no matter what. Now it's like reversed. My daughter and myself would drive to go see him in the rain and the snow and the heat, fires, and now he does it. Now he's up there driving in the heat, in the rain, goes through the grapevine, but he shows up.
He tries to help those inmates
Yeah.
through your nonprofit organization.
He does through our nonprofit. We have been blessed to be able to. CDCR has allowed us and adopted our curriculum one way,
Okay.
and so now we go in and we teach them that. My husband, again, he teaches them one way, and he does vision boards, and so it's a lot of your mind. Once you start to change your thought process,
Okay.
then your life begins to change. And so when he does the vision boards, he still has his up on the wall of when he was incarcerated.
Mhm.
And because of that, he has his vision board. I have a prayer wall. And so I put my prayer wall and I do my scriptures because that's what the Lord says.
Yeah.
He says he'll give us endless. And so we're standing on those promises.
If any of the viewers out there, they might have a relative, a friend, or someone that they love incarcerated, and they want to be part or reach out to you guys, what do you feel it will be the proper way to do it?
They can either email me or Instagram on mine, which is Sandra Suarez Aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
They can send me a message on Sandra Suarez Aftermath on Instagram. It's a lot easier for me because our other platforms are sometimes go a little too crazy.
Yeah.
And so we try to, accommodate them there.
Is there a waiting list, or how is that?
A waiting list is in the prisons for the incarcerated folks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for them. We're looking for an office space out here, which actually hasn't been too easy because some people don't like what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But God's called us to serve the incarcerated, the sick, to serve those that can't help themselves. We That's what we're called to do.
I
Yeah.
understand. And when you say some people don't like what you guys do, what do you mean by that?
So there's people that don't like what we do because it looks like we are just for incarcerated folks. But that's not the case. Our organization does different things. We help the incarcerated. We want to better conditions for the families because we were system impacted. But we also come down here to downtown LA. We Downtown LA, Pomona, San Bernardino, and we feed the homeless because
Okay.
I was once there.
Yeah.
So it's important to give back to the community. Um, and that's why from Jesse's place, I created Aftermath,
Okay.
which Aftermath is the ripple effect, like my husband calls it, of what happened to us here. But the second part is the healing beyond bars. It's the families. It's the voice of the voiceless,
Hmm.
per se. And so I created that for a space, also for a space for victims, to help them to heal, because I was once a victim, so it's important to make sure that we touch on both spectrums,
Yes.
not just the behind the walls, but also out here in the community, that we serve our community. It's very important.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
You feel that there should be a second chance for the incarcerated?
I believe that I believe that second chances are very important.
Hmm.
Um, because if I wasn't given a second chance, where would I be today? My husband, the same thing. I know that it's difficult, sometimes, depending, on what people do, what they don't do, but we come to help. We don't ask, a lot of questions about people's cases, because that's not what we do. What we do is our prison programming, policy changes. But that's why I want to emphasize that we want to help the community, and those that are left with the aftermath of what happened to them. Um, and second chances are important, because where I was 10, 15 years ago is not the person that I am today. That's not who Sandra is anymore.
Hmm.
But people don't know that because they don't give me a chance.
Hmm.
But then there's those that give me a chance. And then same thing with my husband. He's not the same person he was 10, 15 years ago.
Of course.
It's like we're two totally different people that now we know the consequences of our own actions.
Okay.
Now I know some of the stuff that happened to me wasn't even my fault, but the anger that was within me is what stopped me from wanting to do better. And so now here we are because of those second chances.
How many inmates have you guys helped since you opened the nonprofit?
How many incarcerated folks we
Yes.
have helped? Let me see. Well over 400,
400 inmates.
almost 300. I want to say 374 incarcerated folks. I have our list
Yeah.
of people that have graduated our one-way curriculum.
Hmm.
um so they go through the 8-week process, then they graduate, they have to partake in the vision boards and their changes, and then we help them. We have their families that reach out to us, send us messages, and they tell us, hey, so and so is so grateful, for your husband, or they thank me, um, because they didn't think that way.
Hmm.
Not just because like Jesse was giving 37 years. I refuse to believe it. That's not who God is. That's not what he said. That's not the power of God. So I would be like, I know what they gave him. I see what they gave him, but that's not the God I serve. And so when he got released, people were like, wow, I remember when. And then they'll start telling me their stories, but it shifted my mindset.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is any of those inmates come back to you to help the nonprofit, or they do anything out of their ways to
Yeah, we have so when we do our homeless outreach,
Mm-hmm.
our the incarcerated folks, the ones that were in there, have come to serve with us. And you'll see their pictures on our Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Just I believe it was this weekend that passed. There was one that my husband ran into when my husband first got out.
Yeah.
I didn't even give him a chance. It was out like 3 months. I was like, okay, it's time to go feed the people in downtown LA. And so he went with us. One of them went with us. They come out. We asked for volunteers.
Yeah.
If you want to bring water, food, fruits, bring it on down, and then we all collaborate and we serve. But they come out that way, yes.
What is the you said there's stages in that program. What are, can you break it down for us?
Well, it's a 8-week curriculum.
Yeah.
And so the stages are how his curriculum is, which he has his vision boards in there. There's one that's like a football game, but it's to work the mind.
Okay.
The biggest one that is the one he talks about is the cocoon effect, the butterfly.
Okay.
So you go from, and I was just even reading on that. You go from this cocoon,
Yeah.
let's just say this cocoon that's ugly, that looks like it's not going anywhere, and then it manifests into a butterfly.
Yeah.
And then what does it do? It leaves.
Flies away.
It flies away, but it flies away not the way that it was as a cocoon.
Yeah.
It flies away beautiful. And so along the way, those are the things he instilled in me, is that we don't have to think that way. And man, his one of his biggest things is affirmations. He's just a different type of person. And so affirmations is very important also. Yeah.
From when you met your husband to who is currently today, what has changed?
Wow. From when I met him, wow. Man, he's a very lovable person. He was all ours, meaning mine and my daughter's, because the visiting room. He was just ours
Yeah.
at that time, like a seclusion, a time of, I believe, sowing, reaping, sowing.
Hmm.
So he sowed so much seed in there, but now that he came out, it's like a reaping effect. And so he hasn't stopped working. And so, he not we don't just go into the prisons, we go into the camps, we go into the juvenile halls,
Hmm.
um, because he's trying to reach them young.
Yeah.
That's the youth program. He's trying to reach them young to teach them what he went through because he's from East LA
Hmm.
and he went through a lot. He went through a whole lot growing up. I went through a lot growing up. And so he's trying to teach them there's a better way. There's a different way. You don't have to be stuck there in the drug and the gangs and the abuse. We're both he was abused by his mom, which I'll share his story,
Hmm.
but he loves her. Boy, he loves her. And so he taught me to forgive my mom. He taught me to forgive her, but now he's like a major workaholic, schoolaholic, and he's not the same person. Oh,
You become a better person.
100%. Everything he said while he was incarcerated, he's done and more. And he amazes me, though I don't tell him a lot because, I don't tell him a lot because he already toots his own horn,
Yeah.
but he amazes me
That's
as
good.
a
Well,
person.
congratulations to you and him overall
Thank
for
you.
you guys what created. There was a story about your daughter.
Oh, my daughter. Uh-oh.
You please tell a little bit more on that?
Yes, my daughter Zoe. So I conceived her at family visit.
Okay.
I was told I couldn't get pregnant.
Hmm.
So I was told I couldn't get pregnant. And at our first family visit, which I'll be very mindful, um, I got pregnant.
Yeah.
And we lost the baby.
Wow.
Our very first one. And man, I was whew,
Sorry to hear that.
I was so heartbroken. I lost it. I lost it by myself. I was at the hospital by myself. Um, and I didn't let him grieve. Um, and then at our second family visit, which was like I believe 4 months later or something like that, I got pregnant with my daughter, except I didn't know it. I didn't know I was pregnant until I was already 6 months pregnant with her. The whole time I was pregnant, all my tests were negative, but she was there. And then I started having dreams of a little girl. And I was like, well, that's kind of cruel. Um, but I found out one day I went to go get an ultrasound because I was really sick. And so the tech, she chuckled and she turned the screen around and she says, you're pregnant. And I was like, what? And she already had her head, hands, feet. She was already there. I was 6 months pregnant. So I only had like 3 months to prepare for her. And so she's our miracle baby.
Yes.
Um, and now she's 7 years old. And that's, our family visit baby.
You think your baby was a blessing in the sky?
It was it was a blessing in disguise because I've been out here alone for a long time. Him incarcerated. So I've been alone a long time. And when God gave her to me, I wasn't alone anymore. And I still will remember, praying New Year's by myself, 4th of July by myself. That's how I would ring in the New Year praying. And so when he gave her to me, he gave a companion. He
Yes.
gave more than a daughter. She's strong. She's so strong. Um, she looks nothing like me though. She looks like exactly like her dad. But he gave me someone that's like my own, and I couldn't believe it.
Hmm.
I was like, wow, God bless someone like me with this beautiful little thing. Green eyes, brownish, blondish hair. But she's my companion and she helps me so much.
That's great. How did your husband took those news?
My husband, you're not going to believe it. He would say all along I was pregnant. He would put his hand on my stomach and pray for it. And he would be like, Lord, nourish this baby. And I would turn around, look at him, and I was like, dude, I'm just fat. And he would be like, no, there's a baby in there. And he's like, let me pray for you. And I still remember. He'll be like, Father God, nourish this baby. He would say, put spiritual bungee cords on it so she wouldn't come. And I would, sit there like, and so finally that day that I had the ultrasound, he called me after because phone
Hmm.
calls were kind of hard sometimes. And so he would call me. When he called me, I was like, hey, I found out what's wrong with me. Because I had lost even 15 pounds being pregnant with her. So she was so skinny in my stomach. I have an ultrasound where you can see her ribs.
Wow.
And she still has a callus in her lip where she would suck her lip. I didn't know she was there. And so I said, I know what's wrong with me, why I'm so sick. And he'll be like, well, why? I said, because I'm pregnant. And he said, I told you. He went, hoo, hoo, hoo. I told you. And I said, guess what it is? He goes, a girl. I told you. It's a girl. And I was like, yeah, it's a girl. And in a dream, he was still incarcerated. He was standing next to me. It was pitch black. I opened the trunk of the car and there was a little purple flower in the corner. And in my dream, I heard, and her name will be Zoe. And I was like, Zoe, who the heck is Zoe?
Mm.
And that's when I found out I was pregnant with her. And so her name is Zoe Jessie. Jessie like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Now, when your husband was incarcerated at that time, and how did eventually that happen for him to get out? What's the story behind that?
So one thing I've learned from him is never giving up.
Okay.
And so since he got locked up in I want to say, what was it, 2012? 2008. He knows more
Hmm.
right now I can't think that good. He got incarcerated here at LA in Los Angeles,
Okay.
given the sentence, but he never stopped fighting. He kept appealing his case. He kept appealing, submitting habeas corpus to the courts, rejections. He has well over 100 of rejections, of denials, but he kept going and he kept petitioning the court. New laws would come in and he would there submit. And so it's it's just God, some of the laws we help to support
Yeah.
are the laws that helped him to petition the court. And when he wrote his habeas, which you can see it on our
Hmm.
Instagram, he wrote the courts and he qualified. He qualified for these new laws because something that should have been 9 years turned into 30 something years because of the enhancements. So when he wrote his habeas, me and two girls, Alexis and Myra,
Hmm.
we're doing Jesse's Place by ourselves and my daughter.
Okay.
And so we were doing Jesse's Place, and we will inform the community. These laws are happening. This could help your loved one, but we're not lawyers, so we cannot give legal advice.
Okay.
But we would, what you call sound the alarm. Not just us, but many nonprofits do that to help change this mass incarceration, the narrative. And when he did his habeas, that's when he got resentenced and he came home.
How was that encounter?
Whew, I was numb to it. Yeah, I was very numb to it. He called from the county.
Hmm.
Someone lent him a phone, a taxi driver, and he called and he was like, "Mama, come pick me up." They had turned us away, my daughter and myself, from from Wayside.
Hmm.
We went to go see him, and they told us he was on his way back to prison. And so my daughter was devastated, so we had to get back on the bus. They drove us back down. I had to get her Starbucks, Little Caesars
Hmm.
to cheer her up. Um, but that was not the case. He didn't go back to prison. So he called, he was come pick me up from county, and I was like, uh, and so when they released him, I was very numb. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I was like, everything we fought for was hard to,
Yeah.
it was so hard. Everything we went through, especially being pregnant, a single mom with my daughter, was hard. And it came down to that moment of him being released. And it still took a while, to
Believe it and adjust.
believe it and adjust. And our members, our families, our community from Chess's Place helped us to, with my husband's clothing, because I wasn't prepared. They helped us with his clothing, shoes, hygiene. They helped us because I couldn't do it all by myself. Again, I
Yeah.
was a single parent, and that's how he was able to get stuff. They sent him money, um, and he was blessed. We were very blessed that a community that saw us from the beginning. I still remember, like, we had 8 members,
Hmm.
and now, you know, we don't have a lot of followers, but we have enough to sound the alarm, and let people know what we're doing, what's going on. And he came home.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That's
Well,
what,
congratulations. And
thank you.
overall, you, the hard work that you have built yourself is paying off. It's paying off on a lot for the fact that now your husband is home,
He's home.
your daughter is with you.
Mhm.
Something that, reminiscing or you're going through, it was definitely a lot. You were able to come out from that. You know what I mean? So overall, thank you for sharing your life story and
Thank you.
and telling us more when it comes into that. Is there anything new is coming out for Jesse's Place that you guys are working on?
We are. Can I get the?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll show you really quick. So this is a book which I'm blessing both of you with.
Thank you.
So this is a book my husband wrote called
Hmm.
The Little Seed.
Yeah.
And The Little Seed, you can it's in the Edobo tablets. It's in the across the United States.
Yeah.
Um all the states. So he was able to upload it. He wrote this book while he was incarcerated. It's a Christian based book that he wrote while he was there. This is my daughter when she was 3 weeks old. And then I'll give this one to you because that's for you, and I
Thank
got
you.
one for you over there. This is our curriculum, one way which he wrote in 2012.
Okay.
This curriculum is the one that we teach in the prisons, but it's not just to be taught in the prisons, camps, or juveniles. You can actually use our curriculum out here, and you can see, how it does help to transform lives, because it's very important that we know that things don't have to be negative all the time. We can come and arise from that. And then the
Thank
new
you.
thing that I'm working on is my 2 curriculums that I created,
Okay.
which is Healing Beyond Bars.
Okay.
And Healing Beyond Bars has to do with our journey and the things that we went through, like the PTSD, what the families are going to go through after. Maybe it doesn't happen for everybody, but for some it does. So Healing Beyond Bars is a 3-part series that has to do about the incarcerated, the family, and doing it together. Because at the end of the day, after serving so many years in prison, there's challenges once they come out. There's a lot of challenges. So Healing Beyond Bars is to help um, for families to cope with that. And my second one is called Floreciendo, which is called Blooming.
Hmm.
And so I had to create this one because along the way in the process, there's many women that get lost in the transition of helping their incarcerated loved one. It can be the wives, it can be the mothers, but kind of like what happened with me. My whole being was creating, being obedient to the Lord, creating a movement called Jesse's Place organization. But once he came out, I was like, okay, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right? Besides doing the prison programming, now how do I help the community? And so I created these for the community out here. And specifically because I'm Mexican American, it's important, to get ourselves out there. And Floreciendo Blooming is dedicated for women to know that they're important, they're valuable. A financial plan is
Mhm.
so important while your person is incarcerated. And I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
And so these are the new things that or I have created for the aftermath. And you could follow me on
There you
that.
go. Is there any place where they can get any of these items?
Yes, you can get those on Amazon.
Okay.
One Way and the Little Seed are on Amazon,
Yeah.
and both of mine are going to be published on Amazon. But we are going to get a space in wherever I could find a space,
Okay.
and have a 1 day course for women to come out and be a support. And I'm going to teach blooming, floreciendo, to the women out here. If they're interested, we'll be posting that on our Instagram platforms.
Got it.
Mhm.
There's a program that you're working on for
Oh,
the inmates to reach out to the families with messaging or somewhere along those
so
lines.
these are policies that we're working on. It's they already have tablets and things of that nature.
All right.
But we're working on policies. We were one of 30 organizations or more maybe
Okay.
that helped to pass the free phone calls for the incarcerated and their families. Right now, we're working with other organizations. Skunkworks being the sponsor, Restoring Hope, Bridges of Hope, Parallel Change Project. I have to make sure I don't want to leave anyone out. We're working on helping with free text messaging
Okay.
because a lot of the families, that's what happened to us.
Okay.
We're the ones that have to pay the cost. We have to pay the cost. Like the irony of things, we helped to pass the free phone calls. The meetings were nearly a year. We tried to make sure we were there all the time, but we didn't enjoy any free phone calls because he got out. And so the same thing with the text messaging, it's important to alleviate some of the costs for the families. And that's why we do policy, is to better the conditions for the families, for incarcerated folks. But again, not forgetting that there's a community out here that also needs the support.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, with that being said, thank you for sharing your life story. Thank you for
Thank
sharing your
you.
husband's story. Hopefully, we get the pleasure of meeting him and he's able to
He'll
have
be
a
good
seat.
to go.
He will, he's able to have a sit down with us,
No.
and share his life story. At the end of the day, overall, thank you to again kindly for being part of
Thank you
us.
for having us.
Anybody wants to reach out to you for any type of feedback, how can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to us. Our platforms. My personal one is Sandra Suarez Aftermath.
Hmm.
We have our Jesse's Place org. We have a website. Our Jesse's Place org is on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. To get a hold of my husband, his is Suarez Jesse.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're here to serve the community.
Great. So with that being said, again, thank you for
Thank
being
you
with
for
us.
having
Thank you
us.
for sitting down on this platform. And again, remember that people will respect you as much as you respect yourself. So I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
You got fucking